morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry to be late, I apologize. Just got off the plane literally, and they were circling around Amsterdam, and I was counting the seconds. So I apologize for that, because believe me, I'd much rather be here. Thank you to my colleague who just presented. And I'd like to take this opportunity just to briefly explain a little bit about what our office does at the State Department. So specifically the issue areas in which we work, as well as the types of mechanisms we use to empower women, as well as sort of where energy access fits into that picture. And finally, talk a little bit about what the US government is doing, and specifically the State Department in our office, to address some of these issues. So I guess a lot of my talk will be a little more from the policy perspective. I know a lot of you run programs on the ground, and so I hope this will form the basis for a conversation that we can have about how we can better work together to bridge the respective work that we do. So first of all, as the moderator informed you, I work in the Office of Global Women's Issues at the US State Department, and I work for Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues. So this is a brand new position. It was created in 2009 by President Barack Obama for the first time. And the initial Women's Issues Office in the previous administration had about 6 or 7 employees, and has since grown to approximately 30 or so. So we've seen quite substantial growth, and really in prioritization of these issues. So what is it exactly that we do? In other words, how do we work to empower women? So first of all, I guess the bread and butter of the State Department is diplomatic outreach. So both in a bilateral context as well as multilaterally. So for example, we'll reach out to another government. I can give one example that's not directly related to energy access, but we'll give you an idea. So for example, we worked last year with the Ukrainian government to develop an MOU on human trafficking. In the multilateral arena, we work with Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, we work with the World Economic Forum and others to develop different initiatives as well. In addition to our diplomatic outreach, we also do public-private partnerships, which is certainly a buzzword these days, but we like to think that they are having an impact, especially in this economic climate. I think these days, government certainly doesn't have as many resources as we would like everyone else, and so it's important for us to reach out to the private sector and to NGOs that are doing important work for us to collaborate. So I'll speak a little more about public-private partnerships in a bit. In addition to that, we also do convening, so similar to this, we bring people together from all over the world around particular issues. We also have a small amount of foreign assistance funding. Most of that money goes through USAID, but we do have a little bit of our own. But I would say our primary activity is actually integrating gender and women's issues throughout the work that the State Department and USAID do. Traditionally, these issues have frankly been marginalized in a lot of ways, and so a large part of our role is to educate our colleagues about the importance of these issues. Because as I mentioned, a lot of the resources, US government resources, go through USAID, and so it's important that we work with our USAID colleagues to ensure that they understand these issues, as well as our State Department colleagues, to ensure that we're maximizing our impact, because as we all know, if you don't include women, then your programs and your policies aren't going to be nearly as effective. So on what issues do we work? Well, we have a very global focus, both in terms of geography as well as in terms of issue focus. So some of our key priorities include combating violence against women, promoting women's role in securing peace and stability, advancing women's role in political and economic participation, as well as in different development initiatives. So the Obama administration has 3 key priorities on development. One is global health, the second is food security, and the third is climate change. So where does energy access fit into sort of the issues that we work on and how we view these challenges? So as all of you know most likely better than I do, women are the primary providers and users of traditional energy sources in many developing countries. So much of their day is spent on the collection and use of these sources, such as cooking, gathering wood and water, as well as agriculture. So I think it's easy for us to think about energy access in terms of the environment, in terms of climate, but in reality it's also very much an education issue and a health issue, as well as a safety issue. So, because as women spend their time and put themselves at risk as they go and search for these resources, a lot of these other challenges that we work on perhaps in other capacities arise. So I think we really try to view this issue in a holistic manner. So what exactly is the US government doing on energy access, and specifically on women in energy access? So I know my colleague, Corinne Hart, preceded me and spoke about the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves, but the State Department is quite proud of the role that we are playing and have played in launching this initiative. The initiative was launched by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton at the Clinton Global Initiative in 2010. And since that point, the US government has committed over $100 million to this initiative. So some of the efforts that we've made with that money, specifically through the State Department and USAID specifically, have put $9 million towards this effort. And so some of the activities that we've done with this money include partnerships with countries across the globe, including Burkina Faso, Cambodia, El Salvador, Ethiopia, Finland, Ireland, Kenya, Lesotho, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Rwanda, Spain, and many others. Developing partnerships with new private sector partners, including Dow Corning, Confederation of Indian Industry, and the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. So in addition to sort of these broader efforts, our office in particular has done quite a lot as well to ensure that women remain a key focus of the Alliance. And I'm sure Corinne spoke to the specifics of this, but Ambassador Verveer, my boss, is coordinating the Gender Coordinating Committee of the Alliance. And we are working to ensure, with Corinne and with her colleagues at the UN Foundation, that empowering women is a key component of the work of the Alliance. So beyond the Global Alliance, we are also working on an initiative that will focus on India and Africa that will touch upon women's role, and particularly their potential as entrepreneurs around these small-scale clean technologies, so cook stoves, but also solar lanterns and lights, and hopefully other technologies as well. In addition to these initiatives, we also are launching an International Visitors Leadership Program, which will support approximately 15 women to travel to the United States to learn about US climate policy, which will hopefully help them advance their efforts to develop climate efforts and clean energy efforts in their own country. So with this in mind, what are the next steps? So looking at this issue from a policy perspective, I did just come from Durban, and Ambassador Verveer traveled to Durban for the first time ever, traveled for the first time ever to a conference of the parties. And so this is quite significant, certainly from a US government perspective, that someone of her stature would travel to the climate negotiations. And so the US government is really starting to prioritize this nexus between women's issues and climate issues, but also energy issues. And so, as this year advances, we have several additional opportunities with the Commission on the Status of Women at the United Nations in February, followed by Rio Plus 20, which will take place in Rio, obviously, in June. And so I think, we very much hope to continue to elevate these issues in a way that will raise them on the international policy agenda, and that will hopefully complement a lot of the work that all of you are doing on the ground. So I look forward to being here through the rest of the day and to talking to many of you and learning and sharing additional details about what we're doing, and thank you very much.